Wow, I was muted. Good start. Welcome, everybody, to Wager Talk Today. I'm Lawrence Presman. We got a great show lined up for you all. Tons of betting information ahead. Mark Zinno will be joining us right off the bat, and he's got a win-loss report. Teddy loves when I call it that, on the Denver Broncos. 5.5 wins. Are they going over or under? How should you bet that? He's also going to look at the Toronto Blue Jays baseball game. Adam Trigger, our $2 Tuesday handicapper after that. He's going to take apart the Marlins and the Diamondbacks and the Angels and Royals. And Steve Merril will end the show with Philadelphia and the Braves and the Tigers at the Cubs. Teddy covers, my co-host. How are you, my friend? And what is your big game breakdown?
Big game breakdown. This is something we don't, maybe once or twice a year this might happen. But I did a big game breakdown over the summer talking about Georgia Tech and Florida State. I'm going to repeat that big game breakdown today, talking about Georgia Tech and Florida State. Obviously, the game goes on Saturday, and if you missed it in June or July when I did it, you'll get a chance to hear my opinion once again today. So we'll break down a little college football on today's show, as well as in What Bettors Learn. We'll talk about some of the quarterback battles being decided, how much we should let them impact our opinions about what the point spread should be this coming week for week one of the NFL regular season and the college football regular season. So loaded Tuesday edition, Prez. Let's get right into it.
Dude, I just want to skip everything and go to What Did Bettors Learn? That's an amazing topic. I'm excited. Mark Zinno, are you going to hang around and listen to What Did Bettors Learn?
Every time I come on this show, I hang around to get smarter. That's why I'm here. That's why we're all here.
Oh, well, isn't he sweet, Teddy covers. Let's start right off the bat. Let's go to the Broncos first. Start with some NFL. Their win-loss record, 5.5. That's the number. You going over or under here? And I'm guessing Teddy might even be discussing some Denver Broncos and What Did Bettors Learn?
I'm going over. Guys, look, this was a team last year that won 8 games with pretty average to below average quarterback play. Now, why did they do that? Because they have the best play caller and schemer in the NFL and Sean Payton on their offense. I think this number is just too low. When you go up and down this schedule and sort of break it down and part and parcel it here, there's enough outs for me to get to 6 wins. Number one, they play the NFC South. So between Carolina and New Orleans, I feel like there's 2 wins right there that they're going to get. Could they beat Tampa Bay? Probably, in my opinion. They might even be able to steal a third there. But conservatively, if you say 2. If they only get 2 division wins, now that gets you to 4, right? They play the Raiders twice. They might be able to sweep them. That could be 3 if they can steal one from Kansas City or the Chargers. So we're in that 2 and 3 range there as well. Then if the schedule sets up nice in the fact that they got a late game in mid-December at home against Indianapolis. Now, I think Indianapolis is a little bit undervalued. I think they're going to be better than people think. But you still have a dome team going on the road with essentially a rookie quarterback in bad weather in the middle of December. I think there's a huge favor there to the Denver Broncos. They also play weaker teams in Seattle and Pittsburgh in the first 2 weeks. And, oh, by the way, they get Kansas City at home in week 17, or week 18, rather, in a game that Kansas City might not be playing starters in. They might have everything locked up, and it might be a game that Denver could easily win. So there's a lot of extra outs here, guys, that they could get to 6 wins. Now, if this was 6.5, probably wouldn't bet it. But at 5.5, I just think we came in too low here. And unless Bo Nix is god-awful, and it looks like he's going to be the starter, unless he's god-awful, Sean Payton will do enough here offensively to get this team to 6 wins.
So Denver is kind of in a unique situation this year because they've got more dead money in their salary cap than any team in NFL history. After paying off Russell Wilson and paying Russell Wilson, and now they're paying Russell Wilson to be the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh, or potentially be the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh. But from a cap hit standpoint, that's like a fifth of their salary cap is going to a guy that's not there. You talked a lot about schedule. Talk to me about personnel for Denver. Does Denver have the talent to be competitive? You know how this league is. It's a parity league. Everyone, all the teams you said that Denver could beat, they're looking at Denver and they're saying we could beat this team the same way. So from a talent standpoint, with a rookie QB and a team that faces severe salary cap restrictions and made all kinds of cuts in the offseason. What's putting the buy sign other than schedule on Denver for you? Is it Sean Payton? Is Payton's influence that important?
Well, yes, it is, to answer your question directly. But I'll also add this. I covered the team that had the most dead cap money before the Broncos 2 years ago in the Atlanta Falcons, when they got rid of Matt Ryan and had basically a shell of a roster, and they were still able to win 7 games. Granted, it was in a much easier division in the NFC South, but the point is, it is possible. Now, my biggest concern, honestly, isn't even on the offensive end, because offensively, Javonte Williams is still a good running back. You still have Cortland Sutton. Josh Reynolds now comes over from Detroit, where he was in a pass-happy offense before. And you still have a pretty solid offensive line, all things considered, because that's really what Denver has always made their bones on. With Bowles and McGlinchey as your tackles, you're bookended there. So I'm not too worried about the offense. The defense really kind of is where things have started to take a little bit of a hit. I have some questions on the interior defensive line and how good they'll be in there. But you still have Patrick Surtain. You still have a decent secondary, and Baron Browning in your linebacking core. For me, again, I think the defense is the bigger concern here, because I don't know that this is an offense that can catch up, right? Like, that's what we're talking about, Teddy. Like, if they get down in games early, I don't think this offense catches up well. But from a positive game script, I think Sean Payton can scheme his way through a lot of situations.
Mark Zinno joining us, everyone. And Mark, conceptually, I agree with this pick. And I think it is very well related to their schedule. I think you outlined it beautifully. I agree they could probably get 2 playing against Carolina, New Orleans, and Tampa Bay. I agree there's a game there to be won in Pittsburgh. And I like that you have that backdoor opportunity, hopefully, if you make that bet and they need that last game, Kansas City sits their starters. I like that handicap, and some of our listeners agree as well. Let's go to some baseball here. And Toronto is playing Cincinnati today. Both teams completely out of it. Cincinnati 6 games back of the wild card. Crazier things have happened. They did win last night. Where are you going in this game?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to do something I don't really feel comfortable doing, and that's back the Toronto Blue Jays. And there are 3 reasons why I try not to back the Toronto Blue Jays, because they have 3 things in common with my ex-wife. They cost me money, they're untrustworthy, and they don't put out enough. So from that standpoint, I'm in a difficult situation. But they have Jose Berrios.
Let that lie, dude. Let that breathe. Okay. Tomorrow we'll have Mark Zeno's ex-wife on the show with a rebuttal. Now continue.
Berrios, fantastic at home this year. 8-2 record in 12 starts, a 2.83 ERA, holding opposing hitters to a 218 batting average at home this year. So we get the strength of Toronto there. And they're going up against Carson Spire of Cincinnati, who on the road this year, his numbers are god-awful. 6.30 ERA. He's given up 15 runs in 20 innings, along with 3 home runs and a 250 batting average against. Just has not really been that dominant as a starter this year, and the numbers bear that out. So they're in this spot right here where Toronto's offense can actually take advantage. I'm willing to pay the extra juice here, guys, on the money line, just simply, again, because Toronto's offense can fall flat when you least expect it. So from that standpoint, I'll do it on the money line in the first 5 and lay minus 140 here with them, or maybe in that minus 150 range, just to keep the time in my back pocket in case Toronto's offense falls a little bit flat here. But the Reds, after winning last night, it's weird. They get swept at home by the Royals, come back and win on the road last night. Now the inconsistent Reds feel like they're due to drop one here.
So I apologize. I had to look this up. But Andy Reid, 9-1 in 10 Week 18s or Week 17s, even when resting starters. The Chiefs have been winning those games. So I wouldn't necessarily count that as a W for Denver. But I remember looking at that over the summer. I'm like, wait a minute. So that stood out to me. Sorry to go back to that.
Teddy,
and I know you're going to rebuttal. But
just to jump in real quick, I think the Chiefs are going to need that game regardless. So I wouldn't include that game as an automatic W for sure. But nicely done on the lookup, bro.
one of the beautiful things we have. When a guest talks, we can look. Let's talk about the Blue Jays and the Reds, because Cincinnati's in a really interesting spot here, right? They had that dismal series at home where they just got absolutely shellacked by a team that, in Kansas City. And they hit the highway yesterday, fall behind early, and then rally from behind to get the W. In my mind, that was kind of a buy sign for a team that's been every bit as good on the road as they have at home. When you have that crap stand, you go on the road and you brush it away. Does that factor into your handicap at all? Or is this just a starting pitching matchup that really favors the home team?
It's the starting pitching matchup. But again, just take a look at what Cincinnati is and how they haven't been able to get away from their inconsistency. They're the only below 500 team with a positive run differential. I'm sorry, the Cubs just got to +4 over the weekend. So, but other than that, they're the only below 500 team with a positive run differential. What does that tell you? They should be better than what they are, but they have consistently not been able to do that. And the series against Kansas City at home is emblematic. Kansas City's been terrible on the road this year. Absolutely bad, comparatively speaking to what they are at home. And they just get swept. They couldn't even win a game at home. I mean, they are incredibly inconsistent. They're hard to trust. And, with the pitching matchup here was enough for me to fire on Toronto, especially in the first 5, because I don't want Toronto's bullpen being part of anything, right? They're an absolute dumpster fire.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't be allowed to clear customers at all. So leave them in Canada. Don't ever bring them to the United States because they're not any good. But so we'll go first 5 here with the better starter.
Mark Zinno laying down the comedy. And Mark, it feels to me, and I just clarify, if you will, it sounds like the Cincinnati Reds are similar to your ex-wife as well.
Inconsistent and annoying, yes, pretty much. I would tend to say that they fit that same mold. By the way, guys, real quick, 5% best bet up on the site today. 23-8 in the month of August, 74% in MLB, number 1 in units. Winning percentage, ROI at WagerTalk in the month of August. So a 5% best bet tonight, along with the second play. 2 MLB plays up on the card as we continue to stay hot on the diamond. So go check it out, wt.buzz/MZ. It's a much better payout than my ex-wife.
There we go. Mark Zinno, outstanding stuff. Guys, take advantage of his 5% play, and he's obviously seeing the field well. He's doing great. Number 1 baseball handicapper this month over at WagerTalk. Teddy covers. That's going to be a hard act to follow, but I'm really interested in what you have to say here. So let's go. Tell us, what did bettors learn?
Well, starting quarterbacks are getting announced all over college football, NFL too. Let me start with college. We had Duke, USC, Baylor, Arizona State. They all named their starting quarterbacks yesterday. They're all on the front page of the ESPN.com college football page. So clearly, these are newsworthy stories. From a power rating standpoint, in college football, these quarterback battles really don't matter all that much. Player A is a 5-star prospect. Player B is a scrub. Player B wins the job. That means he can play, or player A is not as good as we thought. Keaton Slovis is a frosh for USC, a great example of that, where the 3-star guy came in and outplayed everybody. Once a starter is in place, if he gets hurt, benched, replaced, you can adjust your power rate numbers based on how good that starting quarterback was. But the reality is that for the vast majority of these QB1 versus QB2 in a heated battle in August, there's no power rating adjustment from quarterback 1 to quarterback 2. Third stringers, fourth stringers, maybe now you got to adjust. But we're not seeing that in camps in August. So from a power rating adjustment standpoint, college football, these quarterback battles in general, my thought process is that quarterback gets announced, that's worth 0 points. In the NFL, starting quarterbacks is everything, obviously. Last couple of days, Justin Herbert back for the Chargers in practice. That probably matters compared to Easton Stick. Gardner Minshew wins the job for the Raiders. That matters too. Jaden Daniels won the job for Washington. All announced the last couple of days. And again, all of this stuff is largely priced into the markets already. Whether it's season wins, whether it's futures to win divisions or to win championships, or whether we're talking about week 1 numbers. It wasn't like the Chargers or when the Herbert was dealing with his plantar fasciitis or whatever you call it, that the markets were like crashing on LA. No, they expected him to be back, and now he's back in practice. So the bottom line, as stupid as this sounds, We don't overreact to quarterback battles. We don't overreact to quarterbacks returning from injury. The markets don't. And even when it's Herbert versus Stick, the markets aren't sleeping. They knew Herbert would be back, and now he is. So from a betting standpoint, market's going to move a lot less on these quarterback battles than you might think. And that's probably the right thing. Lawrence?
Teddy covers. Let's keep the show moving. We've got the long-winded but incredibly eloquent Adam Trigger joining us, and he is the $2 Tuesday handicapper. If you guys have never purchased a play from WagerTalk, every Tuesday we take one of our hottest handicappers and make them the $2 Tuesday handicapper. And Adam's got a big play up tonight. It's a 5% play. You get it for only $2. And he is killing it, man. Since June 1st, 43-29 record. That is a hair under 60%, and he's up 40 units of profit. Guys, also, if you don't mind, please hit that like button. Greatly appreciated. Let's get to 100 likes. We're getting into football season. These likes are important to us. Adam Trigger, how are you, my friend? You excited about your play?
Yeah, I'm excited about my plays every day. Even more excited when they win, obviously, which both of them did yesterday. I had the Mets last night. I had LG Twins this morning, 2-0 to start the week, and hopefully we can keep it going.
Yeah, obviously all three of us and everybody comes on the show, give or take, releases plays for a living, and I'm excited about my plays every day too, but when I do have a 5% play, I don't know, it's anxiety. I'm filled with anxiety. I obviously love the play. I never push these 5% plays, nor do you or Teddy. But they fill me with anxiety. And I mean, like, you look at what happened to me last week. On Wednesday, I released a 5% play. It lost. The next day, so I made a lot of sales. The next day, I made 0 sales and went 2-0. I wish that our customers and clients didn't run and jump every time we had a 5% play. I wish that they would take advantage of our weekly and monthly offers. It's just stressful, man. Do you find that?
Well, I mean, yeah, like it kind of it's great being the $2 guy if you win. It's awful if you lose. Like, you just prepare to get slaughtered, basically. It is what it is. I'll tell you what, I'd rather have that than not be the $2 guy for sure. But for me, like, people are always asking, like, why do you only play 4 and 5%? And it's like, I really want this to be as close to flat betting as possible. I don't like to have like a 2%er and then come and tell you to put 2.5 times something on a different play. So I for me, that's why the 4 and the 5% works, because I'm never telling you to put anything more than like 20% of like what the normal bet size is. So just because it's a 5% doesn't mean it's like, mortgage your house and play it. It's just, I like it a little bit more. Like, there might be like 1 or 2 more angles that, are favorable, which is the case here. So, and then I like to play Prez. I like to play 5%ers off of like a couple of wins. And especially for me, like going back to the weekend, I didn't have the best like Saturday, Sunday, come back out, start the week 2-0. So it feels like a good spot to take a shot for me. That's pretty much it.
Well, let's get into some baseball betting. Arizona holding on to the wild card by the skin of their teeth. They got the Mets right behind them, 1.5 games back. They're playing Miami tonight, and this Miami team is not good at all. They beat Miami last night 9-6. And these are important games as we get down closer to the playoffs. How are you betting this game?
So this is a bet for me. This is a 4% play. I'm not going to hold out on you guys. I figured I'd bring it for free. So really, my whole slate today is $2 because I'm going to give you this one for free. I'm going to go against the Diamondbacks here, and for a couple of reasons. One, they're 45-24 since June 1st. It's the best record in Major League Baseball. They've also scored 406 runs since June 1st, which is the best mark in Major League Baseball. So like that's starting to permeate into the line. They're getting priced as a top option. A big part of that success is Ketel Marte, who's now on the IL. So you're going to take a 930 OPS guy out of the lineup. He hit the IL with an ankle injury, and you're going to have Kevin Newman and Blaze Alexander kind of platooning to take those at bats. That's a drop off right there. And I would never just bet a Major League Baseball game off of one guy being out of the lineup. But when a team's getting priced as a top option, and you take what I consider to be one of the best 10 to 15 position players in the majors out of the lineup, it's certainly worth acknowledging, and that's why I wanted to point it out here. Now, another reason I want to play against Arizona in the spot, Prez, I'm willing to fade Eduardo Rodriguez. He missed most of the season with a lat injury. He finally made his 2024 debut a couple weeks ago. I wasn't impressed with him in either of his starts back. I was surprised that Arizona didn't have him rehab at all in the minors, from an injury like that, and then re-injuring yourself. It would seem like you would have a AAA stint, and they didn't. They've kind of gone to this load management role where they've got 6 starters, so it looks like they're going to let him and Merril Kelly kind of work their way back at the big league level. But the concern for me here is the fastball velocity has been down in his first 2 starts, and another concern is right-handed hitters through these first 2 starts are destroying him right now. And the Marlins lineup is all right-handed hitters for the most part. So you're going to have some, what I consider to be like good, should have some good batter to pitcher matchups, in this game for the Marlins. On the other side, you got Edward Cabrera. He's a little inconsistent, but his stuff is awesome. And, he had a dud last time out against the Phillies, but his last 6 starts have been pretty good. 3.48 ERA. At home in 27 appearances in Miami at home, he's got a 3.7 ERA. And again, this stuff is above average. So if I can catch him on a good day, there's a good chance the Marlins win this game. But even so, plus 1.5 was minus 125. I thought that was cheap for the run. So this is a 4% play for me. I really like the Marlins here.
So you talked a lot about the pitching matchups. I want to talk about these 2 lineups for a minute, because Arizona's tearing the cover off the ball. They did it again yesterday, even without Marte in the lineup. All right, and admittedly, that's a big takeout. But Arizona has just been, they've literally been tearing the cover off the ball. They've been an over machine. They've been crushing mediocre pitching. They've been crushing bad bullpens. Miami, how do I phrase this? Not so much. Comparing these 2 lineups, if we take the starting pitching out of the equation, doesn't Arizona have a huge edge? Isn't Arizona a 2-1 favorite?
No, I actually make this more like Marlins plus 120, and I'll tell you why. So I think the Marlins are going to light up Eduardo Rodriguez. He hit the 2 starts he's had so far. Right-handed hitters are hitting like 350 against him. And if you look at this Marlins lineup, it's all right-handed hitters. I'll give you a prop. I'm not a big prop guy, not a big squares guy. Jonah Bride has been killing the ball for the Marlins. And he's not a big name. He's a guy that I had circled when he was down at Jacksonville that I thought would play well when he got called up. He's been killing the ball, and I could totally see a veteran like Rodriguez not really putting much thought into facing him. You groove him a fastball, he might hit it out of the ballpark. So I think the Marlins lineup sets up better because, like I said, Cabrera, if his stuff is on, it's really tough. Really good strikeout, to walk ratio there. So other than – and the Diamondbacks bullpen's kind of a mess right now. They've got names down there, but they can't figure out who to get into what spot. There's been blown saves. So, Arizona has not had a great road trip so far, and I don't like how they're coming into this game. So I think the Marlins win, but if you're going to give me a run, plus 120, plus 1.5, minus 125, that's very favorable here. Could be a close game. I'll take the Marlins.
Adam Trigger, Kansas City against the Royals. KC winners of 5 in a row in the wild card spot, playing the Angels, who, suck. How do we bet this game?
Yeah, so this isn't going to make my card. I think my point in talking about this game, though, is I wouldn't be in a rush to go to the window and bet the Royals here. Because there's a lot of things that actually make sense to play the Angels. One of the ways I was looking was Angels plus 1.5, which is down in the minus 115, minus 120 range. Listen, the Royals are red hot, 5 straight wins. The Angels are a bad team, Prez. You said it. We know that. That's all, more than baked into the line here. But this is just not the time to pay the premium to back the Royals. So, you've got Cole Reagans, who's a guy I love. He's a legitimate ace. He has a 1.89 ERA in August. That's all known. he's getting priced as the very top option here. The Angels lit him up earlier this year. 7 runs in a start in Anaheim, and in 5 appearances for Reagan's against the Angels, his ERA is 5.85. So, even though he's been good and he is an ace, that's not exactly the profile I would want to back him in this spot. I would look to go against him. The other thing that makes me like the Angels a little bit here is the Royals have struggled against left-handed pitching. And Tyler Anderson is the type of guy that can come in and really keep a lineup off balance. Now, he comes off of his worst start of the year. He was really bad last time out against the Blue Jays, but he's having an all-star year. I mean, this is a guy that was an all-star. He's got a 3.30 ERA, a 1.17 whip. The numbers are great. And I would bank on him bouncing back. Then I don't know if he's going to get lit up twice. Go look at his season so far. Very rarely have you seen him have two bad starts back-to-back. Now, on paper, it's going to look like the bullpens. It's going to look like the Royals bullpen is much, much better than the Angels. It's going to look like a huge edge. That's not the case. You got Hans Krause and Ben Joyce down there for the Angels, and neither of them have pitched since the weekend. They're both studs, and I think they would be both used for more than an inning here if the Angels are in this game. Angels plus 1.5, a lot of value there. I also wouldn't be surprised if they ended the Royals win streak tonight, but good spot to fade the Royals in my opinion. Just didn't quite make my card.
Same kind of question when it comes to LA. I mean, this is a lineup that's even colder than the Marlins. They've scored 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, and 3 while losing 6 of their last 7 games. So, again, they haven't scored more than 3 runs in any of those ball games. Are you worried at all that this cold lineup against a pitcher who you like isn't going to produce the results that you like?
I mean, I guess that's always the case with the Angels. I don't know that you're going to ever really bet on the Angels at this point and expect them to come out and score a touchdown. But the pitching, like I said, not only does the pitching set up really good for the Angels here, because Anderson's probably going to give you 6. He typically is a guy that's going to go 6 innings. And having Krause and Joyce, I don't think people understand, college baseball fans might understand how good Ben Joyce is, former Tennessee Vol, throwing 105. He's totally figured out his command issues. He's been awesome. And Hans Krause has been awesome as well. So, those 2 guys in after Anderson is going to be tough for the Royals, especially with the Royals' struggles against left-handed pitching. On the other side, all of these Royals relievers have expected regression. If you look at the expected regression metrics, that whole bullpen is kind of due to get hit a little bit. So, in a game like this, that's why I want the run, Teddy. I could see a 3-2 type game. So, give me the 1.5, with the Angels here, minus 120. I think that's probably the better bet.
Adam Trigger joining us. Guys, he's the $2 Tuesday handicapper. Adam, you got a 5% play up tonight. Tell us why everyone should get it outside of the fact that it is literally only $2.
Yeah, 5% play. Spot I really love. I gave you the 4%er on the Marlins plus 1.5. So, for $2, you get my whole card today. And why? I don't know. Prez, you just heard me break down those 2 games. I think I sounded pretty convincing, so that's why you should go get the $2 baseball play.
You always do. Plus, you're rolling right now, brother. Up 40 units of profit since June 1st. Kick ass tonight, Adam. I hope you have a wonderful evening and you put your head down to sleep knowing you cashed a winner. Teddy Covers, it's time for your big game breakdown.
Big game breakdown, a rare repeat, but this game goes on Saturday. I talked about it once over the summer. I thought I'd talk about it again today, even though we're not getting the best of the number anymore. That being said, Florida State and Georgia Tech, Dublin, Ireland, noon Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific on Saturday, August 24th. It is the first game of the college football season. And of course, Florida State, we know what happened last year. They had a 13-0 start. Then they had a quarterback injury. Then they got kicked out of the college football playoffs. We didn't get a bid to the college football playoffs, and then everybody opted out, and they lost 63-3 to Georgia, which was not a pretty bowl game in the Capital One Orange Bowl. So, new season this year, new quarterback, DJ Ugalele, who's not one of my favorites. I always thought that he's a guy that's dating back to his time as Clemson, that he was more hype than production. He transferred from Oregon State, played well last year, but again, not a guy, third college in the last 3 years. I'm not looking at Florida State as a team that's likely to be a juggernaut from day one. I don't have a lot bad to say about Florida State, but I'm not convinced that they're the 13-0 team. The team that started 13-0 last year are going to be as good at that. This bet is all about Georgia Tech. All right. We're not anti-Florida State. We're pro-Georgia Tech. Brent Key in his second season. And again, we talk about coaches transforming programs. Second year, third year. That's where you tend to have the transformational seasons. Last year, the Yellow Jackets went 7-6. Don't be fooled by the record. 3-4 start, 4-2 finish. And let's talk about what they did down the stretch. As underdogs, +12. They beat North Carolina outright. They were +1. They beat Virginia by 4 touchdowns. They were +14.5 at Clemson. They lost by 21. Fourth quarter pick six mattered a lot in that ballgame. And the point spread, +24 against Georgia, lost by only 8. +6 against UCF in their bowl game, won by 2 touchdowns. They've been a really good dog. They've shown the ability to step up in class. We like the team speed for Georgia Tech. And the sharp money's been flowing in on them all summer. You know, +13.5 we talked over the summer. Now it's +11.5, +11. Count me in. Yellow Jackets plus the points. I think they're live dogs in early start action on Saturday. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy covers. Let's keep the show moving, man. Stephen Merril joining us. Steve Merril. Thanks for sitting in my seat last week, Thursday and Friday. Always can count on you. How's your week been?
Doing well, and I want to wish you boys a happy second anniversary. This exact night, 2 years ago, Saturday the 20th, we were all doing the meet and greet in Las Vegas. Time flies.
Well, yeah, and to say the least. I was trying to explain to my daughter yesterday how fast time flies. She's 23. Little does she know she's going to be 55 in a few days. So, yeah. How, I don't understand, but that it does. Let's get into some actionable betting information. We are going to talk the Phillies at the Braves. How you betting this game?
National TV, Fox National TV here on Tuesday night. We've got some Major League Baseball at 7:15 Eastern, and this is our 7:20 Eastern to be exact. And this is a big game, obviously, in the National League East. Not quite as big as maybe we thought it would be a few months ago when the Braves looked like they were closing in on the Phillies, when the Phillies got a little bit cold. Atlanta still games back of so obviously they could close a gap here the next few nights, but they need to hold on to the wild card spot. They do currently have a wild card spot, about a game and a half up actually over the Mets for one of those wild card spots. So this is still one of the better games tonight in baseball. We got Lopez and Wheeler. Atlanta, a rare home underdog in this one, and we've seen some money come in on Wheeler. Opened $1.25 up to $1.40 now. Sharper books up to $1.45 even. So I do like Philly with Wheeler in this game on the mound. Total has also risen a bit from 7.5 up to 8. You know, Philly is a team we were all waiting to regress, and we knew they weren't going to win like 70% of their games. Even Dan Alexander knew they weren't going to win 70% of their games. And when they came back from the England trip, they did get a little bit cold as expected, lingered after the All-Star break as well. But then after the 4 straight losses in mid-August, they won 4 straight against Miami and Washington. They lost the game on Sunday to snap the 4-game winning streak. But as we know, those Sunday afternoon getaway games, I think, are the most random games of the week. I don't read too much into that. They had yesterday off to travel to this game, and I think it's a good spot tonight. Also, don't mind backing Zach Wheeler. He has been consistent, to say the least. So far this season, he has a 2.72 ERA at all starts, and over his last start, he has exactly a 2.72 ERA. I mean, that's the model of consistency here down the stretch, and I like him tonight over Lopez. Now, Lopez has pitched well, 2.1 ERA on the season, so these are 2 good hurlers. I was a little surprised to see the line go from 7.5 to 8. I'm going to stay off the total, but I do like Philadelphia. I think they're starting to peak again here, and it's a play-on team, maybe the best team in baseball. We'll take them as a short road favorite tonight in Atlanta.
So the Braves played pretty lousy baseball for the better part of 2 months, 3 months? I mean, it felt like Atlanta was a pretty consistent fade for most of the summer. But all of a sudden, this past week, we've seen the Braves. They've won 5 out of 7. The pitching's been good. The lineup started to get going. I know they lost Austin Riley, but it's still a team that right now, this past week, again, 5-2 their last 7. Aren't they playing good ball? I mean, the number came short, and the bettors are betting up Philadelphia, why the number come as short as it is? Is there any positives here for Atlanta right now?
Still 10-10 their last 20, but you're right. They're trending the right direction. And I thought when they picked up Soler at the trade deadline, it would be a catalyst for them. I thought the Braves were due to start playing better. You keep in mind, 3 years ago in 2021, they lose Acuna for the rest of the season. They pick up Soler. He goes on to win the World Series MVP, and they win the whole thing. Could history repeat itself? Atlanta's actually basically where they were at that time. I don't think they were 7 games out, though. What I will point out, though, as far as the scheduling spot here, I mentioned how it was kind of that throwaway getaway game Sunday that the Phillies lost. Now they travel with the day off. It's actually a negative scheduling spot for the Atlanta Braves. They're coming back off a 10-plus game road trip. They haven't been at home for several weeks. They had yesterday off. Now they're a home dog. Jeff Michaels and Ralph Michaels and I talked about this a lot last year. Teams coming off extended road trips are bad plays, especially as home dogs, and the worst spot of all is with a day off. And it's counterintuitive at first until you start thinking about it, and you realize that's because you get back home, you've got a lot of distractions, routines you have to get back into. That day off takes away the fact that it's like another road game. You get settled in, and now you have to play. So the Braves, even though they're a quality team, they are still a home dog in this game, and home dogs off extended road trips, off one-day rest, that first home game are a very negative play, and that applies against Atlanta tonight as well.
Steve, before we move into the next game, the Tigers at the Cubs, what do you have to promote for our clients?
Fantastic special we've been running for the past week, and if you haven't taken advantage, shame on you, but you got one more night to do so, and that's the buy 3 days, get 7 days. Buy 3, get 4 more days for free, and tonight, Tuesday, it expires at midnight. So once again, this is your last chance to get a 7-day package for the price of just 3 days. That's $69. $69, dude. That works out to less than $10 a day. About $5 per play for all sports, all access for the next 7 days and nights. And tonight's the last chance to buy 3, get 4 more free. 7 days for the price of 3. No promo code needed. It's on my page right now, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, and you get there quicker with that shortcut, wt.buzz/SM.
Steve, the Cubs at home, they're on the road, playing in Detroit. How do we bet this game?
You got it right. The Cubs are at home in this one. We are undecided on the Detroit pitcher. Undecided on the pitchers for Detroit as I do this early Tuesday afternoon, but it's a play against spot for Detroit, and that's why I wanted to talk about this game. And we're not talking the Yankee game here on the show, but it could maybe be a play spot against the Yankees too. We always say fade the Sunday night ESPN team, right? And it's been factored into the lines in recent years, but it's still a negative scheduling spot as that's a spotlight Sunday night game. Teams have to usually travel and often play somewhere else the next day. Well, I thought after watching that Yankee-Tiger extra inning Little League game on Sunday night, boy, this fade spot's going to be better than ever. And then I checked the schedule, and I was disappointed to see that neither the Tigers or Yankees played on Monday. But I think it could still linger, especially since Detroit came from behind to win that game in Williamsport on Sunday night in extra innings. And they're facing a Cubs team that's actually playing decent baseball. They're competitive on the season, plus 4 run differential, which means they're actually better than their 61-64 record. They're 5.5 out of the wild card spot, so they're not out of contention yet. They're 12-8, their last 20. Tigers 10-10. So these two teams are pretty equal, but I think the scheduling spot is bad for Detroit. And the fact that they're undecided on the starting pitcher still is part of this handicap, and that tells me this is not a fully focused spot for them as well. They also had their ace on the mound Sunday night. I think this is a letdown spot for Detroit, and we will take a situational play on the Chicago Cubs minus $1.35 to minus $1.40 at 8 o'clock Eastern tonight on Tuesday.
So the Cubs aren't in the exact same spot that you were talking about for Atlanta, returning home off a road trip, but they're still a home team off a day off. Is that a bet against scenario like it is for the teams coming back off a road trip with that day off? I would think that it might be.
No, and I'll dig a little deeper here. I mean, here, once again, I don't have data on this, but they had Thursday off when they returned from that 5-game road trip. And to be honest, Teddy, when Jeff and Ralph and I talked about this last year, it was 6 road games or more is what qualified. So the Cubs are actually only on a 5-game trip. It's when they're gone for multiple weeks because, once again, it's human nature. You get back, you got to go shopping, you got to deal with stuff that you haven't done for 2 weeks. So they actually had last Thursday to do that in all seriousness, and then they were home for 3 days. So I think it's a different situation here. But we don't talk a lot about situational analysis for baseball. It's always starting pitchers, right? The odds are based on the starting pitchers, and they go less than half a game now sometimes. And it's a 162 game season, and you play almost every day. So I love these little situational angles when we can find them. And I do think the fact that Detroit is not named a starter after having their ace on the mound Sunday tells us something about maybe the mindset in this game. They also beat the Yankees on Saturday, don't forget. In fact, they shut them out in that game. So back-to-back wins against the Yankees, including a big spotlight game in Williamsport. And that was a unique situation for the players. You had a lot of the little leaguers. They interviewed Garrett Cole late in the game when I was watching. He said it made him feel like a kid again. It puts everything in perspective. And then for Detroit having to travel from there and then travel to Chicago, even with the day off, it just doesn't look like a good setup here. So I do think this is one of those rare situational plays that we get occasionally throughout the season.
Steve Merril, outstanding stuff. Guys, I'm going to put you on the spot. We got a few minutes left of the show. Again, everybody, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, greatly appreciated. And an Art Dice, Art DeCesar joining us tomorrow. I know some of you guys have asked where he's been. He just took some time off, but he is back. He'll be on the show tomorrow. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. Look, I'm putting you on the spot. You don't have to answer if you don't have any thoughts. But I'm looking at the AFC South, and I understand what Houston did last year. I get it. But this Jacksonville team is plus 250, give or take, to win the division. Steve or Teddy? Teddy, I'll go to you first. Do you find value on that? Or do you think, because that number is confusing to me. I feel like there's value on the Jags at plus 250 to win this division.
So in general, I'm looking for future wagers that give me two choices, yes or no. This is a future wager that gives me four choices. All right. So inevitably, the house takeout is higher. Inevitably, your odds to cash are lower. Is Jacksonville live in the division? Yeah, they're live in the division. They're one of several teams that's live in the division. Plus 250 isn't enough for me to say, I love this team. They're definitely better than Houston. They're definitely better than anyone else in the division. I'm confident that Trevor Lawrence is not the mediocre quarterback that he's been. I think the Jags are what they've been, which is a decent team, maybe a pretty good team, but not a team that I'm excited about betting this type of future with. Steve?
Yeah, Teddy, it's funny you said it that way because, Lawrence, what I was going to say as well is when you said, is there value? I was about to say, I hardly ever find value with divisional futures. And it's a lot of the same reasons Teddy said. First of all, let's keep in mind, not only are the odds skewed, because most books don't allow you to play the other side of that and take, minus 250 that they won't win the division, or minus 300 take back plus 250. But the other part of the equation from a money management standpoint is that your money is tied up 5-6 months with these futures. And then on top of that, you're probably not getting true odds either. So in order for me to tie up, a 4 or 5% play for 6 months, part of my bankroll, which I could roll over every 3 hours for the next 6 months on regular plays, I need to get extra value, let alone not value. So I very rarely mess with these future odds for that reason. Season win totals are different because that's kind of a yes or no. Like Teddy said, it's an over or under. And once again, if it was a true two-way market, it'd be yes plus 250, no minus 280 that they wouldn't win the division. Then maybe we'd be talking about truer odds and more value.
I just wanted to bring them up because you had Houston at plus 105 to win the division. And but I agree with you. Conceptually, I agree with you. With that said, I did put up a huge future bet on a division winner. It's actually a 5% play. A bunch of you guys have already purchased it. I don't do those I had one last year and it won, and I got two this year. So I do find value in some of those bets, but on a whole, great answer, both of you. Steve, love having you on. Huge shout out to Mark Zinno and Adam Trigger. Remember, Adam Trigger is the $2 Tuesday handicapper. Thanks for coming on, Steve. Teddy, great show tomorrow. We got Marco D'Angelo, Andrew McGinnis, and Art DeCesar. Take us home, bro. It's lunchtime.
Sure. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the games tonight. We'll be back again tomorrow with another edition of WagerTalk Today. Cheers.